If someone called me to track drums at a studio and then I got there and was like, you know what, never mind, I'd still charge them. So time is money.
You're listening to Sappenin Podcast.
Sappenin!
You are listening to episode 342 of Sappenin Podcast, presented by END, also known as Emo's Not Dead, featuring myself, Sean Smith, and my good friend, Morgan Richards.
Yes, it's me, Morgan Richards. And if you're listening, sing it back. Whoa!
No. Same key, Nige.
It's fine, because this episode is full of clarity and the futures on the band who literally bleed American.
Oh, God alive. That is the fucking cringiest one we've done so far, maybe that is. Yes, this week's guest is drummer and musician and all-round legend, Zach Lind of Jimmy Eat Fucking World. That's not the name, it's Jimmy Eat World. I'm sorry for swearing. I'm just very, very excited because I did love me some Jimmy Eat World, and I really, really enjoyed this chat with Zach.
Yes, I'm over the moon that we can finally make this happen. The man you can thank for providing the rhythm behind our most loved blurred emo versus pop punk bangers. For the last 3 decades, Jimmy Eat World have infiltrated your brains with some of the best melodic songs ever written in this scene, made an underground stamp on pop culture, and gained a diverse reputation of becoming all your favourite band's favourite band. And mine. Easily top 2 to ever exist in my biased opinion.
Top 2.
But Zach and Jim Atkins have been a vital part of the band's identity since the start, and a true role model for a lot of drummers in the scene wanting to step behind the kit. He's just started posting behind the scenes talks and tutorials on his Instagram filled with advice he's looking to pass on to the next generation of musicians out there, in between what is always a busy summer of festival touring for the band. This evening, today, they will be playing the main stage at Downloads Festival.
Yes!
At the iconic grounds of Donington Park here in the UK with Weezer and Green Day. So even though I have legit sent a criminal amount of emails to make a Jimmy episode happen on this podcast, we thought this was the perfect time to dive into Zach's mindset and personal perspectives on the band, their back catalogue, and even moving forward.
Yes, this was a super, super interesting chat with Zach. He talks everything from Jimmy Eat World songwriting, potential new music, how much they love a show at a quarry/rock formation. And yeah, like Morgan said, he has been on his Instagram lately teaching people how to, teaching drummers basically how to do different drum things, from recording your drums to mixing and stuff like that. So yeah, if you're a drummer, it's super, super interesting. Check him out. Yeah, the mighty Zach Lind of Jimmy Eat World. What a guy. This is a wonderful, wonderful chat. And I cannot wait to see them later on today at Download Festival.
Yes, it's going to be good. We're going to be there throughout the weekend. If you're on your way, maybe you would listen to this driving. Maybe you're already there and in your tent, got us in your ears. Or it's trying to escape the FOMO at home. Screenshot this, that you're listening, and tag us at Sappenin Pod on Instagram. Because this is basically a golden ticket into the history of a really established band. And speaking of golden tickets, Sean.
Oh my God, alive. Go on.
Wouldn't it be great if, like, some man called Billy Wonka would try and give away something for a cruise, maybe?
Yep, go on. Explain it quick.
Our friends at Emo's Not Dead are giving away a golden ticket surprise this month. If this is your chance to win a cabin and tickets for 2 on the Emo's Not Dead Cruise 2026. It's bigger, badder, boatier than ever before. We're talking go-karts, water slides, a ton of stages, and every band that you love from the scene, including The Used, Silverstein, Under Oath, Story of the Year, and a whole lot more.
Million and the Sons of Disaster.
Them too. Sean's very, very excited. All you have to do to being a chance to win is order at least $20 worth of merch on Emo's Not Dead through now until June 20th. So you've got another week. Use the code Golden Ticket for 10% off, and then you automatically get entered into the prize draw. And as you've probably heard us mention millions of times, that cruise is the best thing.
Yes, what a fucking festival. Cannot stress it enough. It is an amazing experience with a wonderful community that Emo's Not Dead have created. So check out emosnotdead.com. Buy some clothing because, honestly, they sent me a hoodie and a t-shirt and the quality on them is unbelievable. Thank you. Oh, also the coffee's really good. As you could tell by the excitement that flew up my neck. Threw up my neck? No, flew up my neck. But yes, go to emosnotdead.com. They are great. Thank you very much to them for all of their help with everything they've done for us.
Check out patreon.com/Sappenin to support us and keep this thing going, and find out exclusive news on things we've got behind the scenes before we can even announce it. We're going to be doing 3 live podcast shows in July in Manchester as part of Radar Festival, and we're going to tell you the guests before we can on our Patreon. So if you want to know who we're going to be speaking to in the flesh, go and check it out, patreon.com/Sappenin. But yeah, let's get into this episode. Fucking Jimmy Eat World finally on this podcast. I can die somewhat happier than if it was yesterday.
Don't die. Sappenin!
Sappenin!
Ever. Sappenin!
Sappenin.
Yes!
Joining us right now is the drum legend of the mighty Jimmy Eat World. He's also a drum guru. I've been watching his Instagram. I don't play drums, but I now know how to record drums myself if I ever need to. The mighty Zach Lind. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's nice to meet you guys.
Oh, pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Sean will agree with this, and all the listeners will as well. I've been trying my hardest for like the last 6 years to get a Jimmy Eat World episode of this podcast. So I'm thrilled that we can finally make this happen. But
awesome,
Zach,
yeah.
How's things going day to day right now?
Things are going really good. You know, we're in Arizona and it's starting to heat up a little bit. The summers are really hot here. So, but it's still like we have like nice mornings. We're still in the part of the summer where the morning is still cool. But that's going to change pretty quickly. So we're enjoying the mornings here, but yeah, we're getting ready to, coming out to Europe and, doing some touring. So we're getting ready for that. And, it's been, everything's good here though.
Good. Yeah. It does seem always a busy summer for you guys anyway, but especially when you come over to Europe for a stint of shows. You've got some big ones like Download Festival. You're supporting Linkin Park in Italy as well. Like, is it always quite fun to just know that these things are on the calendar and they have that experience again?
Totally, yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things that, over time in our career, like you can kind of remember your life based on tours you go on. And so it's like, there is something, it's sort of the hard part is like right now, right? Where I'm just about to leave and, so I'm really trying to enjoy being around the family, being available for them and, do what I can in dad mode. And sometimes I feel like I'm, not doing enough, but I know that coming up pretty soon, I'm going to be doing plenty. So I got to kind of rest, but yeah, it's a fun, we're really lucky to be able to do this, to be able to travel and play music. And, it's pretty simple. It's a pretty, really fortunate circumstances that we find ourselves in. And we're really, I think as we get older, we appreciate it more and more. So having these tours coming up is a good sign. It means people are still interested in listening to what we're doing. So, it's all positive.
How could they not be? Like they will be forever. You're saying this now, you're cursing yourself technically by going, we'll never get fed up with this. And then 40 years down the line now, you'll be like, I regret saying that on that one episode of a podcast I never went back on.
I hear what you're saying, but I think it's important to never you can't sit back and expect things to happen. I think one of the things we learned really quickly in being a band is if you have expectations, watch out, you're going to be disappointed. And so I think we learned that earlier on, and it's sort of branded into our brain even now, all this time later. I think you want to kind of, you still have this feeling like you have to earn it. And I think that's good for us.
Yeah.
Well, I think that goes hand in hand with how you guys have kind of been portrayed in rock media for the last 20 years, because you've never had the outlandish moment, right? None of you have ever come out with mad quotes. There's we're the biggest band in the world or anything, we're going to take it over or anything like that. You've always been quite mellow, quite respectful, just kind of let the music do the talking. And then when people get into the band, they discover your personalities when they dive into it a little bit more. But you've always had this kind of representation of just being the chill guys who just like to come in, play their music and see what happens outside of that.
I think so, for the most part. I think we're just, we kind of just stay true to who we are as people and don't try to venture too much outside of that, whether it's whatever Jim is communicating to the fans at a show or when we're doing interviews, it's all pretty much just us. We're not trying to put on some sort of, the only really performances that are happening are during the music, and in between the music or after the music or before the music, we're pretty much just us. So it's for better or for worse. That's how we are.
But you talk about the mixture of the family on the road and family at home, and as the band gets older and the kids grow up a little bit more, is that change quite drastic to be in two mindsets, or have you done it enough now where it's kind of okay, version 1, version 2? How would you mix this day to day?
I mean, I think you have the same mindset all the time. It's just that there's just not being present is a challenge for everyone else, right? So when you're leaving, so we try to do a lot of bringing the family out, when we can, using this opportunity that we have to travel to include the kids. And, my youngest kid is just turned 15. So everyone's a teenager. We're 15 through 23 and we have 3 kids. So, it's cool to bring them out. Last time we came to Europe, our youngest came with us and he'd never been to Europe before. And he loved it. And so it was being able to do that is part of it's a combination of, you do have to go on the road and do a job, but yes, you are also a father and a husband. And so you have to balance that. But I think the best way of balancing it is mixing it all up. And so we try to do that as much as we can.
Was there ever a point where because the kids probably love it now, I guess, and my dad's in Jim Eat World, it's the fucking best. But was there ever a moment where they were "Oh, Dad, the band again," or what? Was there were you ever not cool for a moment?
Yeah, for sure. we I think that when they're younger, I think you're not as cool, and as they get a little bit older, they start to appreciate what you do a little bit more. And so, that's definitely the case. But every kid's different. My older son, who's 16, is, a huge fan and plays guitar and learns all the songs. So he's really into it. The younger son was a little bit less into it. And, but as he's getting older, he's kind of starting to come around a little bit.
That's the thing is, though, as soon as you take them out to one of those festival stages, side stage, and they see those hundreds of thousands of people singing back to you guys, they gotta say the cool points have gone up a bit.
I think that helps a little bit. I think, I think for all of them, and this is fair, all of their concerts that they went to when they were kids were our concerts. And they would occasionally they'd go to the concerts that they like, but they're always kind of just trapped into coming to Dad's show. And I think that what's interesting is you know, when they are able to come to festivals, like we just did Coachella, and you know, the kids were like so into that because it wasn't just about Dad's band. It's like, oh, there's Green Day, and there's you know, there's Charlie XCX, and there's all these other artists that they're interested in, and they had a blast. Like, more than watching us, they had a blast watching the other bands, and I love that because I just want them to be into music, you know, and find the things that they like, you know, and so as they're getting older, that's starting to come into play, and they're starting to be like, oh, okay, this festival thing is pretty cool. Like, we can see a lot of bands, and so that works out well.
Nice. Have you ever suggested a support band just because the kids like them, just to win some cool points? Have you been like, oh, I know, let's get Baby Shark supporting us?
Never done that. No, not yet. Well, I wouldn't be above it. I wouldn't be above it. Like if especially if our middle child, Johnny, if he recommended someone, I'd be like, oh, okay, you know. And our daughter Ava, who's 23, she has great taste in music too. So I would definitely listen to her. The youngest, I'm not so sure, but as he gets older, he'll probably have good suggestions.
Well, there's plenty I want to dive in throughout this conversation, and especially as Sean described you as a drum legend. We'll get into that in a second. But the really important question, if we're on about instruments, when's the last time you played the accordion?
It's been a long time. I haven't gotten an accordion out in a very, very, very long time. So I need to bust it out.
Yeah, there's not. So we can't expect any accordion on any upcoming music that you guys might be working on in the future.
Never say never. I don't know. Like the you know, it's possible. We'll see.
I think in 2026 we need an accordion solo. I think that's what rock needs. I've seen Speed, the singer from Speed. He's playing a flute on stage. If we can have flute, we can have accordion, 100%. So,
yeah, that might be something that, you know, actually Tom's family is, his mom and all of her siblings and their family are like really, really good at accordion. So if we were going to have like a solo, I would probably have her come play it. She would probably knock it out of the park.
You've technically got the session musicians there now as well, and probably a little bit cheaper as well because they're families. So,
see, it's all coming together.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh no!
I just always remember on like the early credits of the records, and you'd have next to you like drums, percussion, accordion. You know, the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity.
Yeah. I think the accordion part that I played is just like a one note, like, you know, melody that I played in. It's like not that interesting. So it's not really, I can't really pass as an accordion player, but you know.
I did that on a record once. I played like 2 guitar notes. They were harmonics as well. I was like, oh, this sounds nice. And the producer's like, oh, record that. And I was like, yes, Sean Smith guitarist now. Unbelievable. Yeah.
There you go.
I can't play anything else, like, but apart from these 2. If you need harmonics for any future music, give me a shout. I could do 2 notes. So if you need any of them to play professionally, give me a shout. But
yeah, we need a harmonic expert.
Oh, I love the idea that job exists. Just a guy who just turns up at the studio and he's like, oh, I think you'll find, the frequency's out there now. You need to go up 2 more hertz. Leave it out, Sean, will you prick?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, but I mean, like, look, a lot of people would describe you as someone who has influenced a lot of different drummers over the last kind of few decades with how the band's growth, and it's sitting in so many different pockets within different scenes. As Sean said, you've started doing these videos on Instagram where you're walking people through kind of tips for songwriting as a drummer, tips for recording as a drummer. What has that process been for you like recently, just kind of taking a step back and showing people kind of little tidbits and little tricks? Because I'm sure you've learned so many things over your time touring with this band.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think for me, I always just think about it, man, I wish someone would have told me this when I was, 17, 18 years old. So, the cool thing about the internet and social media or YouTube is you can find so much good information and people who know what they're talking about. And so, sometimes I'll bring up stuff that I don't really see people talking about a lot. I try to come up with stuff that I found has really helped me. And it's certainly not like new information. It's just me encouraging drummers that, to think about things, and because if you're intentional about, the aspects of, how you play your drums, how you can tune your drums or all that stuff, it's really important, I think, for a drummer to have all those tools because, they're the drummer, like they're the ones that are trying to get something across in the song, and what they're hearing in their head should be something that they can achieve on their own and not rely on other people. So like, that's just my encouragement is just to like, for drummers to see themselves more than just a drummer, but like, figuring out a way to master the different elements of what it takes to be a drummer. And, sometimes that includes, doing things you might not expect or think about. Like, I think learning how to record yourself as a drummer is huge. And you don't really hear a lot of people saying you should learn how to do this, but it's something that really helped me a lot. It helped me understand, I did some music on my own. Me and my wife actually did some music together. And I recorded and engineered and mastered everything, and did all like, and it was really eye-opening. And what was the coolest thing about it was I was actually in this situation of having to like write lyrics, record vocals. I'd never done that before. Right. So all of a sudden, I had this experience of doing this, and I completely, it gave me a totally different appreciation for what Jim does. Right. So like, I have this background information of like what it's a little bit like to be in his shoes, and so, that helped me a lot as a bandmate, so you get these surprising, benefits from, putting yourself out there and trying to learn something new. And then all of a sudden you have a new perspective and a way of that can enhance your role in the band or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long have you been self-recording with Logic and stuff?
So I started doing, I did like little recording stuff on my own here and there, and I didn't get serious about it until 2015. So I waited a long time, and so, and so just over the course of that time and then to now, being able to do that is really like enriched my experience and in terms of like music and being able to play music, and it just adds a whole nother layer of things that you can learn. And so for me, that's always fun to, almost kind of put yourself in a position where you're forced to learn something. And, it's not always easy and fun. It's really frustrating at times, but like you come out the other end like a better version of who you were before.
Well, having that new respect for Jim's role in the band, how would you say the dynamic of Jimmy Eat World has changed since like the Clarity days to Surviving and everything in between? Like behind the scenes, have you noticed just a huge evolution of just maybe the way you approach songwriting, approach a band, approach drum parts in that time?
Yeah, I think multi-track recording and being able to do that on our own has really changed how we worked. But at the same time, I think, the last time we did like a writing session together, as a band, we turned off the computers, turned everything and just played in a circle with amps and drums and a little like PA, without doing any multi-track recording. We would just record it with like a boombox. And so that kind of got us back to like the old days where we didn't rely on multi-track recording. We were just tracking ourselves playing ideas. So I think, it's great to know all that stuff, but it's also great to realize that like sometimes, sitting in front of a computer and, multi-tracking is helpful and fun, but it's maybe if you just fall into that rut, it's maybe could be overkill. And so you need to look for ways to kind of, be creative without, the limit, this sort of just staring in front of a screen, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of cool to get away from that. So we've been doing that lately, and it's been really cool.
Does that mean you guys have been working on a lot of new music lately?
We've worked on ideas. We just, I think we're just at a point right now where we want to make a new album, and we know that people are waiting for a new album. But I think we just, we have, we do come up with ideas here and there, but we're not really focused on, for us, making an album is kind of an intense process. So, and I think the older we are and the longer we're into this journey as a band, we also feel pressure to not just make an album just to make an album, right? We want to make an album that's really good. So, just feeling like we're in a place, individually, personally, and collectively, where that's going to be a productive process is sometimes it's, maybe you don't always feel like you're in that zone. And I think we're just kind of waiting for that to align. But yeah, I mean, we're always working on ideas. It's just a matter of like, okay, let's formalize this. Let's get, do we have the material that is exciting enough for us to really go down that road? And I think right now we have some stuff, but we just don't have enough of it. So it's like a matter of making sure the songs are there and making sure we're ready as people and individuals, as human beings, to go through that process.
Nice. Can you explain to us how I guess previous Jimmy Eat World songs have come about? Like, does it start with one of you just coming up with a riff and then plays it to the band, or are they spontaneous, like you said, in a circle, just jamming out?
Yeah, it's happened in all different ways. I mean, it's happened in both those ways. It's happened where, I'll do, like I'll record an idea at home. Like I'll do bass, drums, and guitar on an idea, and I'll send it to Jim. And I always send it to him split out, so he can just have the drums if he just wants to work on the drums. And so songs like that have worked out, like, where he'll just like, he'll take that and use that as a starting point. There's been times where Jim's just like, hey guys, I have this demo, and he shows us, and it's like, okay, we're ready to track that. Like that's ready to go because he's so good at it. And then there's times where it could be like where we're sitting around in a circle and someone comes up with an idea, and, and we just react to each other and write something. And, so it's happened in all those ways.
Yeah.
I only ask because you have written some of the greatest melodic rock songs of our time.
True.
And I just,
true.
I'm interested how these fucking nuggets of beauty come to fruition. So yeah, thank you for that. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like, I don't think Jim gets enough credit for what he does. Like he's insane, in terms of his talent and what he's capable of doing. It's really, I feel really fortunate and lucky to be in a band with him because he does a lot of heavy lifting, and, he's so modest and so, unassuming that people, I don't think, realize like how good he is. I think he's really underrated. And so, yeah, for me, like, I think it's just as like, I look at my role as like, how can I support and make his job easier as a musician and a band member, And so, that's, Jim and I went to preschool together. So we've known each other for a really long time, probably over 45 years. So, that's kind of just something that like, it just feels sort of, it's comfortable and familiar, and working with him is really fun. And, one of the best things in my life is working with Jim.
Oh, wow.
Has he always been singing fantastic hooks since the age of 6?
No, like, when we started, he would like, cause when we started, Tom was the lead singer, and Jim would be like, hey, I wrote a song that I have that I want to sing. And he would sing it, and it was not good. It was like, okay, this is not good. But over time he just worked his ass off. like that's one of the things I use all the time when I talk to young kids about, I just feel like I feel like, especially with like social media and the internet, I feel like it's way like when I was a kid, I remember not feeling like that self-conscious feeling. I felt like I'm going to learn how to play drums. And if I suck, that's okay, because I'm just going to keep learning. And now I feel like kids are so much more self-conscious because they think that, well, anything I do and put out there is going to be judged by everybody. And we didn't have that when we were kids. And so I feel like, I try to show people like, hey, I'll play a version of one of Jim's first song that he sang with us. It's like on YouTube somewhere. And like, it's not great. It's not a great vocal performance. And if you listen to him now, you'd be shocked. You'd be like, it's amazing. This is the same guy. And I think it just goes to show like he worked his ass off. He, was passionate about it and stuck to it. And that's why he is the way he is now. And, so it's certainly, he's always been very talented musically, but he's learned those things. But if you were to hear him in those songs at the beginning, you'd be like, hey, maybe you shouldn't sing. Maybe you should just let Tom handle it.
Yeah. Never going to make it, Jim. Never going to make it.
Honestly, like imagine if someone told him that and he listened to it, right? Yeah. It would be a big bummer. Like there'd be a lot of songs that didn't come to fruition because of that. So, like it's credit to Jim for, he's talented, but he also has worked really hard.
Well, it's nice to hear that you see it as, it's been work and not just, because a lot of people say like, oh, I don't know where these songs come from. They're just gifted to me from the heavens or whatever. But it's nice to hear somebody in a band that we all respect for brilliant songwriting saying it's hard work and it takes hard work to get there. So yeah, I appreciate that as well. Thank you.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's dude, making an album is at least for us when we do it, it's no joke. It's like you come out of that exhausted and so, and it's probably harder on Jim than anyone else. Obviously, he's, anyone who's in a singing situation where they're singing and writing lyrics and sort of bearing their soul in that way, that's the most difficult part of it. So, I think that it is incredibly hard work. There are sometimes songs that like the middle was a song that came really easily. So the songs do come along like that every once in a while. But it's not like at the same time, if you're not working your ass off, then you're not really in a position to turn an idea into something that's like that can come across in a way that lands on people and has that impact, so.
Well, if we're giving credit where credit's due, I think so many other bands credit you as one of their biggest inspirations, right? I'm sure every festival season, every summer, you meet new people who will stop you and be like, you're the reason I play drums, you guys are the reasons I make music, and everything like that. I mean, God, Mark Hoppus hasn't shut up about Clarity for the last 25 years in the press. Any chance he credits that as a gateway for Blink-182. Has that been something weird for you to kind of digest? Not only the fact that like, okay, yeah, all your friends and your peers like respect you and they credit you and stuff like that, but just to see how far that goes, especially knowing your back catalogue is so diverse and it fits into all these different subgenres. Like, it must be a weird thing to kind of wrap your head around when you're looking away from the band.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's cool to hear people say that. I don't think it really sinks in for us. I don't think it's something we really think about, or like we certainly don't cherish it. Like it's cool. It's like, but I think we've always been kind of like a future oriented band. So we're always thinking about like, what's the next thing? Yeah, so I think that we don't probably have that amount of like self-confidence or, to really like accept those kinds of things, which I think is probably a good thing. Because, when we were writing those things or working on them, like we didn't we didn't know, like, you know, we had no idea what the impact would be. But yeah, like it's cool to, obviously it's always great to hear compliments or people coming up and giving you, you know, props for whatever. But I think, it's maybe best that those things don't totally sink in and you kind of figure out a way to stay hungry.
Is there anyone you've ever been surprised by hearing a reaction? Obviously, there was the big Taylor Swift advert that went viral a few years ago.
Yeah.
Is there been any kind of things you're like, oh, really? We had an impact on you?
It's always surprising. You know, it's always like, whoa, really? Oh, that's cool. It's funny. I went to at Coachella, we were playing the second weekend, and a buddy of mine was like, hey, I'm going to go watch this guy named Sam Fender. One of my favorite bands, The War on Drugs, Adam from The War on Drugs was playing guitar for him. So I was like, I'd never heard of Sam Fender. And I thought, well, I'd like to go watch Adam play guitar at least. So let's go do it. So we took a golf cart over to the stage and I watched, and like, just in that moment, never hearing any of Sam Fender's music, I was like, I love this guy. This guy's great. Like, I love the band. The band was amazing. He was incredible. Just like super impressed, like, holy shit. And I got to meet Adam, said hi to him. And then as we're walking away from the stage, the drummer from Sam Fender comes up to me and is like, hey, Zach, and starts talking to me like he knows me. But I recognize him, and he was like, he was showing me he had like a weird feeling in his hand from playing, and we talked about it, and I was like, dude, that was a great show. You had, you know, like the drums were in the pocket, so on point, and like just really fun to listen to, you know, really inspiring. And he's like, oh, thanks, man, cool. And so like I looked him up on Instagram. I was like, I'm gonna go follow him on Instagram. I looked him up, and like I noticed he had sent me messages like a year ago, and I didn't even see him because I didn't follow him. So I don't see any of the messages of people I don't follow. And so I clicked on it to send him a message, and I see this message he sent like a year ago about like how, you know, Jimmy World and my playing was one of the big reasons why he started playing drums. Yeah. And it was just like, and I felt like a total asshole for not answering him, but B, I was like, this is so, that was kind of that was one of those moments where I was like, man, I need to be a little bit better about answering these people. And also, it felt really cool that a guy that was playing in a way that just like landed on me in a really satisfying way was like, you know, sort of preemptively had reached out to me. And so it felt like things were aligning. It was cool.
Awesome.
You see, yeah. we love stories like that, and you guys deserve your flowers. If there's one thing this podcast is about, is giving people their flowers when they absolutely deserve it and don't get enough of it. But I've had so many arguments with so many different friends about what one of your albums defines you better in terms of legacy, right? Because if you look at everything from Clarity to Bleed America to Futures, Surviving, everything else in between, like, you've always gone into making a record and it seems like you've just left what you've done before at the door and created like a new identity for yourself, right? Where some of those records will be classed as like cult classics, other ones that had massive commercial success, other ones were quite darker and like for like a truer fan feel. When you look back at the catalog, it must be cool to know that, like, you know, some people think this is a pop punk album, some people think this is an emo album, some people think this is like doom, like it's all mixed in together. Is that one thing you and the guys have always kind of tried to do? Is it just kind of separate? It's not just album part 2, this is a part 3. It is very much a different body of work.
Yeah, I think that probably is just sort of happening naturally. The thing I notice is if you look at albums and then you look at the next album, usually the next album has like a different just stance or feel than the previous one. And I think that's just for us just to do something different. Like, hey, let's, like if you look at albums back to back, like a good example would be, you know, Bleed American and Futures. Like Futures is very much like a studio album where, like, you know, we're looking to include as many like, you know, like Futures and Clarity are similar. They're kind of like studio albums where we're experimenting and pushing the boundaries a little bit. Whereas Bleed American is a little bit more like a meat and potatoes type of album, even though there's definitely some studio elements there. And then, like a good example is Damage is almost like an album that we kind of wanted the album to sound like we made it in a garage. You know what I mean? Like just something kind of like very direct and raw and gritty. And then Integrity Blues is like the complete opposite, right? And I think for us, it's just like, hey, let's still be us. We always want to be who we are. We also want to like kind of push the envelope a little bit, but not too much, right? We always want to kind of keep the center of gravity pretty much the same, but like, but push ourselves and explore new things. And, so that's always like kind of our stance is, and usually the differences between the albums is pretty much like, hey, we spent a year and a half making an album and then playing those songs for another year and a half. Like, let's do something different. Let's try to like come up with something that has a different feel and a different, energy to it. And that's usually why I think you see the different styles.
Yeah. Have you ever has any of the boys ever came with a really wild idea, like a crazy idea where you've been like, I don't know if that's Jimmy Eat World?
Not really. I keep lobbying the guys to make a straight up metal record. And I think that would be fun, and I think it would actually be really good. But I get like, I can't tell if they're taking me seriously or not, but I am being serious.
Well, one of these days. Well, my personal favorite record from you guys is Futures. And as you talk about the kind of gaps between records, like obviously the success of Bleed American speaks for itself, right? It just kind of got you guys into that pop culture world. It blew up and everything in between, especially, just talking about the middle alone, that was a whole other world experience. When you came out of that cycle and began writing Futures, was there any like pressure from like labels or anything like that to be like, oh, well, you found your sound, this is what you need to keep doing? Because Futures isn't a million miles away, but it is at the same time. It feels like it was darker. It feels like it went a little shift in direction, and that became, I think, a true fans cult classic album for you guys.
Yeah, that was a really hard album to make because we started making it with Mark Trombino, and it was like that was the first time we'd ever made an album where people were like waiting for it, right? Like every other album, people were just like, okay, like no one's really hyped for the new Jimmy World album up until that point. Maybe like some of the old school fans, like Clarity fans, but like we felt it was kind of we had to learn how to make it a record in kind of environment where we had expectations, where like people's jobs were like contingent on us. You know what I mean? So that was certainly a stressor. And then our label, our label got bought. We were on DreamWorks and it got bought by Interscope. And I don't think really Interscope had any interest in us. We were just kind of lumped into the deal that they signed with them. And so all of a sudden we went from this label that was really supportive and nice to us to a label where like we had to kind of just battle uphill the whole time. And so that was frustrating too. And then we ended up hiring Gil Norton and we re-recorded the whole album after writing a bunch of new songs. And that album was a huge challenge. It's probably one of the hardest albums for us to make. But I'm really proud of it. Like, I think, it is darker. It's probably not as commercial and overall as Bleed American was, but like it had some bangers on it that did pretty well. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like, the thing we've always cared about is like, how are we going to feel like 25 years down the road, looking back on what we're doing now? And so it's easier to not really worry too much about like, if it wasn't as much of a commercial success or if it was, disappointing from the label standpoint. Like I still think that is one of our best records and, I feel really proud of it.
Did the change of producer come because of the change of the record label, or?
No, it came because things with us and Trombino kind of got like weird when we bailed on the first session. And yeah, it was just time. It was time. Like that was like our fourth album working with him. So it was time to move. I mean, it wasn't his fault necessarily, entirely, but it was time for us to, and Gil Norton was the perfect dude for us to work with. He was amazing. Like that guy's amazing.
What would you say the difference in their producer techniques were?
So Gil was much more of like a traditional kind of producer. Wasn't a great engineer, wasn't necessarily a great mixer. He was more just about the songs. And Mark was obviously very talented in the sense that he could, very good engineer, very good mixer. On the engineering producing side of things, or the kind of the engineer side of things, Mark was very, very strong. But Mark didn't, I think because he didn't kind of come up in that traditional producer, like, track, you know what I mean? Like, I think, Mark was a musician in a band that started doing recordings and never got any formal training or never had to like engineer for albums that he didn't like, you know what I mean? He was always kind of like, and so I think that just, it was harder for him when he received resistance or pushback. Whereas Gil was just more of like, okay, well, this is your album, but I'm going to kick your ass and make you make the best album possible. But if like, he wouldn't really get into like, it would never become like personal with him. He was just like, okay, we'll do what you want to do. Let's just make sure it's really good. And Gil was really very much almost like a drill sergeant, where he would make you play live over and over and over and over again. And it, it was great for us. Like we needed that. And, it was like, he was like the perfect dude to kind of come in and resuscitate, the process.
Yeah.
Wow. It's crazy just to hear in like this, for what music fans might think is a minor change behind the scenes can create a completely different record.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge.
While we're talking about the back catalog, is there a song that you feel like didn't get the attention it deserved? And I mean this, like, is there something that you think like, I wish we like pushed that more to have been a single or made a music video for, or like kind of had like a radio campaign? Because as I've mentioned many times, your albums are considered very differently. Some are cult classics, some commercial success, some everything else in between.
That's a tough one. Well, there's one song, I don't know if this fits that, but there's one song that I feel like is a really good song that it sort of seems like universally no one is interested in. Like fans never ask for us to play it. It's a song called Carry You from Chase This Light. And I just think when I hear it, I was like, that's a hit. That's a fucking hit. And like, it's just like, no one gives a shit. So I don't really, but I like it.
It's strange, isn't it? It's strange. You could write the song. You could spend ages on a song or 3 minutes on a song, and you never know. Like you're like, this is the one. This is gonna make us fucking bigger than Taylor Swift, and then, oh no, just me. It's just me that likes it.
Yeah, just me. Yeah. It's funny because like we're really bad. We're notoriously bad at like picking what we think the label will single out as like a single.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we'll think, oh yeah, this song's the number one single for sure, and they're like, oh, we didn't even consider that. Like, oh, okay. Like, so yeah, I mean, but yeah, like I think that song is a really good one. I feel like Gotta Be Somebody's Blues on that same album is another song that no one gives a shit about, that I think is one of our best songs. So it's like, it's fine,
Yeah, you're going to have to go on tour and just do a tour of songs that you want to play live and just...
I would love that. Basically just like a fuck you tour. We're going to play the songs we want and not the songs you want. It's like, it's going to be like, we have this saying, I mean, it's not our saying, but like sometimes you gotta give people what they need, not what they want. And so that's going to be one of those tours.
One question I've always wanted to know this. In the track Sweetness, who came up and how did that piano solo bit come up with that one note?
Oh, I'm sure that was Jim. Yeah. I don't remember, but I'm almost positive that like that would have been something he said, okay, we need this.
Because I'm sure you notice it at live shows now where people, like, when it becomes to that part, everyone's just like, instead of air guitaring, air drumming, it's the air one finger keyboard note.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's funny. We'll have to incorporate that into the show somehow. Get like a GoPro right on Robin's hands and like he'll do that and put it on.
Yeah, you don't hear much of air fingering in bands, really, do you? You get air guitar, you get air drums. It's rare you get air keyboarding. There's not many air keyboard or air piano bands in the world, I guess. But
it is funny. I've never noticed that, but I could sort of see our fans doing something like that.
Oh yeah. Hey, well, just look out for me at download. I'll just be there going do. That's just
okay. Cool.
It's my bit.
I'll look for it.
I love the idea that you've sat behind the kit for that song probably hundreds of times, and you're like, does everybody turn into a witch at the same point? Are they all cursing me with this big witch finger? No, they're playing the fucking piano, man. They might be the piano.
Well, now I'll know.
Now you know. Hey, if this podcast has taught you anything, it's that moment. As well, something that, well, there's been so many things, right, in your history that has probably just been like, what the hell moments for you guys where you take a step back and think, this is weird that this has happened. But I think the thing that tops everything is the fact that Prince secretly covered your song at one of his parties once.
Yeah, that's wild. That was like, we had heard a rumor about that happened, and then we were doing an interview a while back, and a guy had a clip of it.
Yeah,
and so that was pretty mind blowing.
Yeah, it's crazy to think of. And had him or any of his Purple people ever been in touch prior to that?
No.
Wow.
So he was a fan of Prince, was a fan of Jim Eat World, never told anyone apart from playing it live in his house.
At least he liked the song, that's all that matters.
That's fucking brilliant.
When you knew that rumor existed, like, did anyone try anything, or did you think like, oh, that's just one of those weird things that we're never going to actually hear the story of?
Well, I think when the rumor existed, he was still alive, and he's notorious for like anything posted to the internet that's him, but not approved. He was pretty savvy at getting that stuff brought down. So, we definitely looked around and searched it and tried to find something, but we just sort of assumed this will never see the light of day because he's very, stingy about allowing whatever, just people sharing videos or live recordings. So we just didn't think it would ever show up. But yeah, it was cool to get proof. It was kind of neat.
Yeah, that's one of those craziest moments ever. Drumming can be such an intense instrument to play live and touring and keeping that adrenaline up. Has there been any drum injuries for yourself over the years, or maybe in the early days where you look back on and go, I really did a number on myself because of this thing?
When I was kind of getting into my mid 30s, I started noticing like my back really hurting after shows. And so I just fixed that by sitting a lot higher. I raised my throne up. And so addressing posture while you play and thinking about all that stuff, like legit saves you tons of injuries. And so, yeah, I've definitely been mindful of that. I've luckily not had any kind of crazy injuries. Like my hands and my wrists and everything, and my arms, my shoulders have all been in pretty good shape. So I lift weights just to make sure that like all of this is like working. And that's like the biggest thing is like just not heavy weights, but just like lifting, doing some kind of strength training for your arms is pretty key. But yeah, I've been lucky. I don't have any, crazy injuries, just a sore back that I figured out how to work around.
Yeah. Hey, well, posture is king. Posture is king for all that. One thing we started asking bands on this is the craziest or weirdest venue you've ever played. And I mean this in terms of other people have told us about like the back of pickup trucks or house parties or zoos. You must have played a show in somewhere where you've all gone, really? This is the place we're playing tonight?
I know that there's probably a really obvious answer for this. Trying to think, what were the craziest places we played? We played like in an outdoor like gorge somewhere with the generator. That was crazy. Like an outdoor show just based on with like out in nature on a generator. That was wild. We played a rock quarry in Mesa, Arizona. That was again really fucking strange. And then I set my drums up on like a plywood board in a rock quarry. It was wild. We've played a cave. There was like a cave and there was like a cave venue in like Tennessee. We did that.
Yeah, you're like the premier stone-based playing band. Caves, quarries.
We played the roof of the Capitol building one time. That was the Capitol Records building. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that wins, I think.
I'm sure that there's other like weird places that we played, but like that those will come to mind.
A diamond mine. I'm trying to think of other rock-based places that you can play.
Dwayne Johnson's house. Rock Bay.
Old Dwayne's house. Yeah.
We did play the reception for Tom DeLonge's wedding. That was pretty interesting too.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Any aliens there?
No aliens.
Fucking couldn't have been Tom DeLonge then. Yeah. So all right. Moving on to that. UFOs. How do you feel about it?
I'm open to it. You know, I don't have any strong opinions. I don't have any direct experience, unfortunately, but I'm certainly open to it.
Okay. I like asking.
Did Tom ask personally for you guys to play? Or was there a management thing?
So his wife, unfortunately now ex-wife, hired us to surprise him.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And was he surprised?
I think he was. I think he was genuinely surprised.
Pleasantly surprised?
Yeah.
I think he was pleasantly surprised.
Okay, good.
Good. Yeah.
I'm hoping he was.
Oh,
we
have to find out. We'll have to have him on to find out.
Yeah.
We have to ask him, yeah.
For just that reason. No other questions.
That's my I promise you, when we get Tom DeLonge on this podcast, my first question will be, were you surprised by Jimmy Eat World playing your... Is it first wedding? Is he remarried? I don't even know what his marriage status is at the moment.
I think he is remarried. I think he is now remarried, yeah. And we did not play that wedding.
Yeah. Bagger, yeah. So it wasn't... He'd obviously not told the next wife about how much he loved Jimmy Eat World and he'd like to play his wedding again. So, yeah, nice.
Wow, okay. Well, obviously, a lot of people listening to this will be excited to see you at Download Festival.
Yes.
Like that venue itself has just had so much history with it being Donington Park and kind of the Monsters of Rock and everything leading up to it there. But the UK just seems like a second home for you guys anyway, right? Like it seems to be a place that's embraced the band so much. Do you have any just... fond memories of coming over here, maybe in the early days or for the first time, and like realizing that this was a market that really embraced the band?
Oh yeah, like it's probably our best market in the world. Is UK London market, and it's awesome. It's like it definitely is like a home away from home for us in terms of like. I remember it was either like 2021 or 2022. We played Brixton Academy, and I set up like a GoPro for like next to me when I'm playing drums to kind of get the drums, but also the crowd. And it was the loudest. Like my GoPro, you couldn't really even hear. You could hear my drums, but you really couldn't hear the band at all. And the singing was insane. And it was by far like if I were to point to one show or like your best show ever, like as a band, it would have been that show. Cause it was just like insane, sold out, super, like the singing of the crowd was so loud. It was so loud. And it was like, it was an incredible experience. So we've had so many of those similar kinds of experiences in the UK. The last time we played the UK, we played at Alexander Palace. That was our biggest headlining show we've ever done, ever. And so, yeah, like the fans of London and the just UK in general have been like awesome.
Good.
Nice.
I'm glad to hear it. And Zach, before we let you go, as you continue with the rest of your day, I mean, you've mentioned that you're kind of working on new music here and there, waiting for it to kind of feel right. Is there anything else in the pipeline for Jimmy Eat World that people can expect or get excited about? I mean, obviously, you're going to be touring the States of the Offspring later in the year as well, but what else is just kind of on the horizon?
We have a few things cooking up that aren't necessarily like new album stuff, but we have we have a release plan that we're going to put together. I don't know exactly when it's coming out, but there's definitely some irons in the fire.
Awesome.
Nice.
Look forward to it.
Very exciting. Yeah, can't wait for this. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you for giving us your time. Thank you for the music over the years, the inspiration. You guys are fucking absolutely amazing. And, yeah, cannot wait for download. It's going to be a fucking sing-along for the ages, I believe.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we're going to try and bring our more riffy songs to the download stage. So we'll try and keep up with all the massive amounts of rock.
Well, you could always do one of the quick Jimmy Eat World metal songs that you've been trying to get to do.
I know. That's what I'm trying. I'm trying to get this metal record done. We get this metal record out, come back to download and play those metal songs.
Yeah,
nice.
Do it, please.
Yeah, thank you very much for this, and yeah, really, really appreciate you. And yeah, see you in the pit.
Yeah, see you in the pit for sure.
You're listening to Sappenin Podcast. Yes! Yes, that was Zach Lind of Jimmy Eat World, one of the greatest rock bands of all time, if not their generation. Well, definitely their generation, but maybe all time. Some of the best fucking songwriters of all time. If you don't like Jimmy Eat World, you must be deaf.
Literally. But that's the thing, over the years, I've noticed so many other of my favorite bands cite them as their favorite band. And that's the thing. They are such an act that is for musicians as well. Like, there's so many nuances and other things that like they do within their music that other musicians really, really appreciate. So not only have they got a huge fan base just because of the songs they write and the connection the songs bring to people, but like fellow musicians go crazy about Jimmy Eat World. And I'm very, very happy that we got an insight into everything from Zach, and the fact that I got to nerd out about Futures, which is one of my favorite records ever. I was going to bring this up, I didn't get the chance to, that one of my favorite live performances I've ever witnessed was my first Reading Festival, 2014. They played Futures in full in one of the tents after playing a set on the main stage earlier in the day, playing the hits, and it was just absolutely wonderful. So download today, Download Festival. I'm looking forward to a mixture of everything. And, well, they're actually in Cardiff as we're recording this. So breaking kayfabe, I'm going to go see him in Cardiff before download. So 2 days of Jimmy Eat World for me. All the Jimmy Eat Worlds.
Oh, I didn't even know they were fucking playing what? Oh, well, yes, fucking great songwriters, fucking unbelievable band, great live band as well. Congratulations to Jimmy Eat World. Like what? Like they give a fuck. Like they give a fuck that I'm saying congratulations. Congratulations to Jimmy Eat World and his success. They're like, oh, do you know what? We always wanted a Grammy, but I think Sean Smith's appreciation probably means more. Even though I don't even know who Sean Smith is. But yes, thank you to Zach for this chat. It was fucking brilliant. It was good to hear so many of the stories. Yeah, what a great guy. Thank you very much to him. Can I just say, I hope his air conditioner is now 100% fixed.
Yeah, behind the scenes, I had to stop the interview a couple of times to fix his air condition, and it did.
Well, he didn't. He had a man come in.
He did. Yeah. He did hand him. It was a whole thing.
And we had a good chat about it. It was quite fun. Yeah. So, it was
Maybe
nice.
we'll post that a bit on the Patreon at patreon.com/Sappenin for all your emo, rock, and air conditioning talks.
I love the idea that people are like, I love Jimmy Eat World so much. I'd love to know how Zach's air conditioner is currently performing and what it takes to get it going. But yeah, check out patreon.com/Sappenin, because those people there are literally the ones who have kept this podcast going for so long. So if you hate this podcast, number one, why the fuck you listen to it? Number two, blame our Patreons. Patreon.com/Sappenin. Right now, I have to give a shout out to the elite members. As Morgan says every week, in the description of this podcast, there are loads and loads of names throughout our Patreon. But yes, I've got to give a shout out now to the elite members, who are as follows. Thank you very much. Kylie Wheeler, Paul Hirschfield, Scarlett Charlton, Mitch Perry, Tony Michael, Nathan Croshaw, Johanna, Jonathan Gutierrez, Molly Malloy and James Bowbank, Amy Louise, Kat Besant, Ian Gent, Amy Hogg, Chris Sauer, Jerry Robson, Amy Dawson, Scott Jones, Mayumi, Stuart McNaught, Ellen Southfield, John and Emma, Jennifer Dean, Caroline Robson, Jenny Munster, Craig Harris, Louis Cook, Carl Pendlebury, James McNaught, Jason Heredia, Martina McManus, Danny Eaton, Span, Thomas O'Neill, Ollie Amesbury, Dan Peregrine, Emily Perry, Adam King of the Goss Parslow, Kalila Keane, Josh, a mummy covered in chocolate and nuts has been discovered in Egypt. Archaeologists believe it may be Pharaoh Roche. Thank you very much, Lavender Lee Martin, Laura Russell, Sophia Zuravska, Fraser Cummins, Kyle King of the Cloths. King of the Cloths? Yes, that's right. He's become a fabric maker lately. In I Can't Die, as in DYE. His band is called I Can't Die, because he makes fabrics now, according to me. And thank you very much, Connor Lewins and family, and anyone who's ever joined our Patreon. Honestly, we couldn't have got this far without you. So please, join our Patreon, meet some of your best friends, because I know I've met some people who I will now be friends with for the rest of my life.
Yes.
During our Patreon. So
it's very, very true. We're doing meetups at all the festivals this summer as well. We did one at Slam Dunk that was absolutely lovely, and we got great photos of that you can go and see on our Patreon. We're doing a download this weekend as well that we're going to have more photos from. So if you want to get involved, want to be part of the gang, part of the family, patreon.com/Sappenin. And a reminder.
Oh, just support the boys. That'd be alright, wouldn't it? If you just want to support the boys. You don't even have to fucking. Yeah, if you just want to support the boys and don't want to be part of the Patreon community, that's also fine.
It is. I can. You can be a recluse. It's absolutely fine. But just a reminder that we will be doing 3 live podcasts in July on the 4th, 5th, and 6th in Manchester. Right behind Old Trafford at the O2 Victoria Warehouse. As part of Radar Festival, we're opening it up every morning, but it's a separately ticket event. So if, for some reason, if you didn't want to go and watch bands, but you just wanted to come and watch us, you can. We're on stage every morning at 11 a.m. and tickets are available at radarfestival.co.uk. Yes, Sean, it's an early start, but I've managed to convince some really cool guests to join us every morning.
He has mine. I can strongly tell you that the guests that we have for this are fucking fantastic. So you won't want to miss out. They're all fucking cracking. Sorry, Morgan.
Keep an eye on the announcement at Sappenin Pod on Instagram with all the ticket links, or go to our Patreon where we'll tell you before we can even allow to. Hey! But yes, thanks again to Jimmy World. Thanks to Ian D and Emo's Not Dead for being absolute superstars. And we'll be back next week and every Friday with more chaos. Well, next week we're going to let you know what happened to download if we survive the weather, because the weather keeps changing every 2 seconds, apparently. I have no idea.
I saw someone say it's boiling up here now.
Yeah. I've bought wellies just in case.
Yeah. Well, I've only sorted I was going to buy new trainers and stuff, but I haven't bothered. Because I live in Wales where it's constantly raining, so I thought that might be exactly the same as Derby. So yeah, we'll see now. I've been fucking shorts and giant Why do they do knee length? Anyway, carry on. Sorry, my ADHD kicked in and I started thinking about knee length wellies.
Oh, that's for all you knee length welly fetish people out there. That's the image to end the podcast on. Thank you. Bye, Sappenin.
Bye, Sappenin. Kinky farmers or something like that. Oh, I like the fact that you've got lingerie on.
You're listening to Sappenin Podcast with Sean Smith and Morgan Richards. Thank you very much for downloading this podcast or streaming it, or I don't know what else you do with podcasts. Thank you very much.